What a contrast we have when we look at the world as it is, and then when we look at the world through the eyes of God, what He intended it to be and will eventually make it be. We look at the world as it is, and we find a world of war and hostility, murder, ethnic cleansing called mass murder. We find a big distinction, a big gulf between the rich and the poor. We find refugees, millions of refugees fleeing their homeland to look for some safety and food and a job. For a minute, if you would, let's just say that the war was here and we had to leave our homes through no fault of our own. We're just sitting here living our lives, minding our own business, and all of a sudden the war comes here, and we got to leave. What we get to take with us is the clothes on our back and a few other items. What are you going to take? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? That's the kind of world we live in, and millions of people are in that situation. We might see it on TV and say, oh, those poor people. But what if it was us? What would we do? Where would we go? So that's kind of a snapshot from one angle of the world as it is. And here is the world that God has prepared for us. It is a world which is ruled by a shepherd king. And this shepherd king rescues those who are stranded and lost. That's what he does. He brings them to pasture when they are hungry. He binds up those who are wounded and crippled. He gives them a safe place to rest. He heals those who are sick. And in this kingdom, everybody gets along like sheep do. They just kind of get along. That's the kingdom that God has planned for us. And we claim on this feast of Jesus Christ the King that He is King of the entire universe. Everything was made through Him, and all creation will end in Him. He brings it all together. That's where we're going, in case we forgot. That's where we're going, is we're going to Christ. And whether or not we belong to that kingdom is up to us. Because as we heard in the gospel, He gathered the sheep and the goats and everybody together, and He said, now, if you want to belong to the kingdom, or those who belong to the kingdom are these, those who, you gave me food when I was hungry, drink when I was thirsty, clothing when I was naked. You welcomed me when I was homeless. You cared for me when I was sick. You visited me when I was in prison. You belong to the kingdom. All you who do these things. That's not God up there judging us. It's us judging ourselves. It's like, when we do this, we're in. And nobody and nothing can keep us from the kingdom. Nobody and nothing can keep us from the kingdom. I have two stories which kind of exemplify that. One was in the paper on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know if you saw it, but the story is that there was a woman who's helped by a homeless man after she ran out of gas on an interstate in Philadelphia. Now, she's a woman who's got a car, who's got a home, who has a job, but temporarily she's out of money. She didn't bring a credit card, she had no cash. Okay, so there she was. She ran out of gas on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Then, after she ran out of gas, a man named Johnny Bobbitt Jr. bought her some gas with his last $20. Okay, he's homeless. He's got nothing except $20. She needs it. He gives it to her. McClure, of course, didn't have the money to repay him at the time. But later, she brought him some money, some cash, some clothes, and some food. Then she started a GoFundMe page and raised over $60,000 to help him get back on his feet. What a great thing. What a reward for choosing the kingdom. But that's not the important part. The important part was Johnny Bobbitt Jr. and what he did. Do you think that he belongs to God's kingdom? I think so, too. Nothing can prevent him, not homelessness, nothing. His last $20, he gave it. That's all he had. And then Friday night I was watching the news with Lester Holt, and at the end of the news there was another story, kind of a similar one. There was another homeless guy on a corner in New York City, and he found a check worth $10,800. See that story, anybody? All right, anyway, he got the check, and he looked at the name and the address, so he went and searched out the woman and gave the check back to her. And somebody was interviewing him, and they asked him, they said, "Why did you do that?" He said, "It was the right thing to do." His homelessness, his poverty, did not prevent him from becoming the man God had made him to be, to belong to his kingdom. Now, as it happens, this woman was a realtor at one time, had been down and out herself, and so she, through her connections and whatever, found him a place to stay and then get some training for a job and all that. So there's some reward in there. That's all great, but we're talking about him, who belonged to the kingdom because he did the right thing. It is who I am. Jesus Christ is King of the universe. That's all great. But that doesn't count so much until we take him to be the king of our own hearts. So we might ask, what is the king of my heart? Who or what is the king of my heart? And the way we answer that question is by what we say, and even more by what we do. How is it that we reach out to those, the least of the world, and help those who are in need? That puts us in the kingdom or not. It's up to us. Of course, with God's grace. Of course, with the Spirit prompting us and moving us in the right direction to do the right thing, to share what we have. You know, we kind of live in a dog-eat-dog world, don't we? We can choose to live in a dog-help-dog world. And the more we do that, that kingdom of the shepherd will happen. It will come about. And, as we heard in the gospel, in doing that, we get to know the shepherd king. For he said, when you do these things to the least of my brothers and sisters, you are doing them to me. As I reflected on this, I thought, what did these two homeless men teach me about life? About generosity and about love. We can meet Christ in them. We do. We are called to be people who are people, heart to heart. And when we live heart to heart, we get to know the heart of Christ and be drawn into that life.